and welcome to Teach Me Ninja short video on the tricks and tips to convert any complex and large JSON into CSV with amazingly powerful tricks. As we know, today most of the data exchange is via JSON over HTTPS using RESTful API. In fact, all NoSQL data is also stored in JSON format. So is the need to analyze this complex nested JSON structure. There are various tools and editors to analyze the JSON data. However, if you need to quickly convert that JSON into CSV for further analysis of the data, let's say in Microsoft Excel, to render data in beautiful form chart, or you want to actually do some complex calculation on the data coming from the JSON, then you need a way to get it done as quickly as possible. And how we do that? Well, there are great tools. Today we'll talk about 3 different ways to convert data to JSON, and the first one is JQ, the second one is JQG, and the third is the basically set of VI command, cool commands to achieve the same objective. So let's go with the JQ. JQ is a lightweight and flexible command line JSON processor. It is like SCD for JSON data. You can use it to slice and filter and map and transform structured data with the same ease that SCD, Grep, and other tools that are out there. This is as per the github.io. And there are some test sites actually. You can use JQ Play, JQ Term. They're cool things. The JQG is another tool. It's actually kind of a script written by Northbound Train. I found this a couple weeks back. What it does actually, it takes the JSON and flattens it out in more like key value pair. So you, no matter how deep the hierarchy is of the incoming JSON, it will basically just flatten it out using key value pair, more like a key value pair. And then the key can represent the entire path of that hierarchy, so you can really sort of read it and make sense out of that key value flattened structure of the JSON. And you can do some cool analysis on that data. And the third tool, right, which is VI, will look at some cool commands available in VI to achieve the same. Obviously, it's not sort of so straightforward, but I think you can at least learn different cool commands the VI editor offers. So we'll go over the JQ. Then I will go over to my item, and I have this sample JSON data. You can see this is a collection. In collection, you have different JSON object, which is hierarchical in nature. You have root level attributes, and then there is a sort of children attribute that has an object of type. For example, in this case, worker has an object type, and then there are different attributes to this. So we'll use this data to do our analysis, right? So let's take a look at JQ. So for example, if I do apt-prod JSON, this is my sample JSON file. If I just do JQ, if this was not structured, JQ would basically structure it for you. So this is a pretty straightforward, simple way to analyze your data. Even if the data is not in structured format, JQ will structure it for you. In fact, actually, I'll put either a separate video on different ways you can use JQ. But today we'll basically, for the purposes of this discussion, we'll focus on the CSV part. Now, what you can do is you can also use JQ. You can use JQ to actually get some of the attributes out of it, right? So you can use this select command. You want to basically pass the entire JSON. You can use select and then you can basically have this worker attribute in JSON workers, and the hierarchy is within worker. I have type, and then within type I have the attribute called weight. So I'm going to basically see if I can get all the objects that has weight less than 0.2, and I'm going to pipe this and then make sure I print that domain, which is one of the attribute at low level. So I want to get all the objects that has weight less than 02 and print the domain of that JSON, and then this is the JSON. So you see I got this sort of a array of app1, app2, app3. So if I open this app.prod.json, if I look at weight, I can see 0 0.1, 0 0.1, 0 0.1. This is the one that didn't get printed, but I think I can possibly get more attributes printed just for better clarity. So I can actually go back to that same command. Instead of just dot domain, I can say okay, type also print this worker dot type dot weight. Let's see what it does. Yahoo! So I got the collection app 1.1, which is the weight or the vcore. But let's say this this collection doesn't look that great. I may want to actually do some creative here. I want to actually print that data in CSV format. Oops, I need to use py. And hold on, I got this up one weight in sub comma delimited CSV format. Beautiful. Now I think let's try something else. Now if I want to actually just convert data into CSV for some attributes, so let's say if I do app.json and it just to get the list of attributes that I want to print, I can say JQ, and I want to go recursive, and let's say this dot print set pipe it, and I want to actually get certain attributes, so I can say dot version. Yeah, I can print dot domain. Then I can get for example, let's get dot full domain. Maybe I think we can get some status, whether this app is running or not running, and maybe we can actually get region, right? And let's say pipe it, and let's say we use CSV, and then just nice. So I got the version ID. Sorry, this is version ID. All right, so I got version ID, domain. I didn't spell it right, so let's fix that. Made a mistake. Domain. All right, so I got ID, domain, the full domain, the status, and the region it belongs to. Beautiful. So I can convert the entire JSON with just the attribute that I need for my analysis using this JQR command here. Now you can actually do some other cool things with this JQ. You can actually say JQ to only filter out data that you need. So for example, in this case is printing whatever, all the records, right? But I may say actually, well, I need just the selected data out of it. So I can say dot on search on the full select, you can do select, and then I can say mule. Actually in this case, I want actually in fact dot status equal to, for example, undeployed, let's say. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Then I can say I can pipe it, and let's print the same thing here. Let's print this whole thing. Now I should actually get only one row out of that, because there's only one record that says that has status as undeployed. and then I'm going to pipe it dot csv and close comma and single quote and then print it. Beautiful. I got single row and the one that is undeployed. If I change it to, let's say I should change it to started, and print it, I got all started one. It filtered out the undeployed one. You can actually add some more condition here. For example, you can say dot status equal to started, and you can say dot let's go back to the wait. So maybe we can use the workers dot type dot wait. So we can say dot workers dot type dot wait, let's say 0.2. so I should get all ones. So now I got app 1 and app 2 because app 3 app 4 5 6 actually has weight equal to 0.02, and that's why we didn't get, because we are basically requesting give me the one that has status started and the weight is less than 0.2. Or I can actually just go back here and I can say weight greater than 0.1. Beautiful. I got 4 5 6 that has weight greater than 0.1. obviously they have weight 0.2 vcore, and I got all these 3 records. Now I can actually save this data into some txt file, some t.csv for example, or test.csv, and then if I open ts.csv, I got that data here in this csv. So that's amazing thing, right? We can use so these are basically very simple, straightforward command you can use to convert your JSON into sort of CSV and pick the attribute that you need, or irrespective of the hierarchy that JSON is represented in. Another tool is actually, this is the script from Northbound Train, which I got from his GitHub account, and it is a JQG. It's a script. What all it does actually, it's flatten the JSON. So now if you look at app.json, it's pretty hierarchical. Now if I want to flatten it out, you can use actually JQ for that purpose as well. There are commands you can use to flatten your JSON, but I found this JQG pretty cool. Maybe I think you can take a look at and see whether it helps you for your analysis. So I can use JQG and then let's say print all the attributes of the app.json. So it's going to print basically all the records. It's basically every single record is has an ID like a 0 or counter basically, and this counter dot and all the attributes. Now if you look at this, there's a hierarchy of worker object or worker node. Within that you have a type object, and within type you have attribute called name. So see how it actually ties everything together. It basically you would not lose the hierarchy. It will maintain the hierarchy in sort of this an attribute name with the separated by dot. So you have full knowledge about the hierarchy. This specific attribute is maintained in the JSON, the original JSON, but here you got to flatten out the structure of that app.json structure, which is pretty nice. Actually, you can actually load this into a table, or you can load that this data into CSV and do some cool analysis for your reporting purpose. And the way you would do it, basically you just route it to some sort of a text file. The other thing you can do is actually you can say I want just domain. So you're actually saying print me only specific string of that that JSON. And this is pretty nice actually. It basically prints everything that has word domain, and then it prints that data. So this is pretty cool actually. Now if you don't want on entire data, but you do want flatten out, because for example I can say weight, and it's going to basically find the weight which is actually 2 level deep into the JSON, and then basically printed all the weight that exist in the JSON. So there are 5 records obviously, but 6 records, and each has this hierarchy, each has weight, and it's basically printed. So you can see 3 records has 0.1, 3 records at 0.2. This is cool. So now you can basically, this is another tool, right? We can use JQG to do this kind of analysis. We looked at JQ, we looked at JQG, and we'll basically now look at the VI. So let's take an example. I mean, maybe this is not the recommended approach, but let's say if you have an app.json and you have this complex structure, and you want to actually get just the, let's say you want to get version ID, domain, and maybe weight. So what we could do is we can going to now try the VI option. We basically we will use the VI to convert JSON to a CSV, and we'll take advantage of some of the advanced VI commands to achieve that. So I'll basically take the same JSON app.json here. Let's cat app.json so we can actually see what all attributes we need. And maybe a thing we can do, we can just extract using grep with E option, so we can pick multiple attributes. Maybe I'll pick version ID, maybe take the full domain, weight, and then pick one more. We'll probably pick the file name, right? And then let's use the same app.json. Yes, so we can see version, full name, weight, file name, version ID, because we have 5 records. That's great. So what we'll do is we'll route this to an test.csv. Let's call it test.csv. Open the test.csv. Now we have this file that has basically key value pair, and we want to convert this into a CSV where version ID would be one column, full domain name, weight, file name, that will be one row, and then the next row starts here. Now we know that version ID is the beginning of each row. So what we'll do is first clean up this file. So we'll get rid of all the excess spaces here, and we'll use this command to get rid of spaces. Once we do that, let's get rid of all the quotes. We don't need those. Nice quote. Right, we got rid of all quotes, and actually we can just do cnu, so we can see all the number of rows we have. Now we want to join this because version, full domain, weight, and file name are part of one row. So we want to make sure that we join from version all the way to file name, and then start a new line, and then do the same thing, join the next full one. Now the way we want to do it is basically we want to know what is the last character of each line. In this case is comma. So we want to start with that ends with last character as semicolon, for example, and then we can keep joining it until we hit the next row that has semicolon. So we can do that by basically just putting semicolon So we'll get to version from version. So basically we just need to add semicolon on the first line, well on each line that has version ID as an attribute name, right? So we can do version dot star dot end. We do this, we take the same value because we don't want to overwrite that, and there you go. We basically added comma and semicolon, well, comma semicolon right up to at the end of each line, or each line that contains version ID. Now we basically get rid of that comma because we don't want that comma, because when we do join, the comma will create an issue. So we get rid of that comma. There you go, we got rid of that. And now we basically now do the join. So we start with line that contains semicolon until we find the next code, well, until we find the next comma, a line that ends with comma, and then we basically to keep joining that line until we hit the next version, right? There you go. Now we got basically the line formatted with all those 4 columns properly lined up. Now we need to do is get rid of that last comma because there's no column or there's no attribute after that. So we can get rid of that last comma with this command. We can say find the last character of the line, each line, and remove it. Beautiful. Now we basically have a CSV or comma delimited CSV file. Well, actually we can, it's, first line actually has this semicolon. Maybe we can get rid of this semicolon too. All right, so now you have comma delimited CSV file. You can open that in Excel, and you have the ways to convert JSON into CSV of the selected attribute that you want using this method or using these different VI commands. All right, thank you all for attending or joining this or listening to this video, and if you like, please check the like button. Bye.